Views.
I want to spend a little time in my views this morning on the explosive session in the Parliament on Tuesday. And during the course of the program, we will give you comprehensive updates on the system that is creeping towards the island, watching it because of the near unpredictability or precise predictability of a system of this nature, even though we understand we do have our own Doppler radar system now, which is quite good. So there is higher degree of accuracy that can be expected. But we will come to all of those for you during the course of the program. I want to spend some time on what transpired in the Parliament on Tuesday because I surmise that this particular third term, if one watches the developments in politics and how the opposition, having won quite a number of seats back in the House of Representatives and the political makeup of the Parliament, it should have dawned on you a long time ago that this was not going to be an easy parliamentary session. There will be a lot of grandstanding. There will be a lot of attempts to make unstable the position of the Speaker, which is part of the reason I did not agree with Juliet Holness becoming Speaker in this new dispensation. But the decision has been taken, and based on the standing orders, no debate is to be allowed in the House on the person who is nominated and seconded as Speaker. So that is done. So you're going to choose to either deal with it and deal with the Speaker the way the Speaker is to be dealt with, or we're going to have a 5-year term of political grandstanding at which a lot of the business of the House will not be conducted. There are rules governing how the House is to be managed. The sole responsibility, listeners, for order in the House rests on the Speaker, and that is set out in the rules governing how matters go in the House. So whether you agree with the choice of Speaker or not, she, and when Hero Clark sits, he is responsible for order in the House. And on top of that, the rules actually provide, just in case people don't know, because I hear all sorts of rumblings and back-talking and so forth in the House, the Speaker, based on the standing orders, must be heard in silence. Whenever the Speaker or the chairman rises during a debate, any member then speaking or offering to speak shall sit down, and the House or committee shall be silent so that the Speaker may be heard without interruption. So you will hear during the course of some of the excerpts I will play a lot of rumbling in the background, and you will hear descriptions such as Speaker being autocratic, and it's a breach of democratic principles. The standing orders actually provide that you are to sit and to be quiet when the person who has sole responsibility for order in the house is speaking. So she shouldn't be telling you to sit. And I'm prepared to sit here and wait until you're quiet. It shouldn't be happening. And if it is autocratic, it's because the rules provide for autocracy in the house. So know the rules under which we're operating. The speaker can be wrong, but the speaker's ruling is always final. So whether she's wrong or not, you need to accept it. That's what the rules say. And the quicker we get the rules right, the better the system will operate. So that is the backdrop to the views I will explain during the course of the excerpts here. And I think it's so important that you hear how things unfolded. There's a whole list of, whenever you sit and you watch Parliament and you hear them read out some of the things that are supposed to come up on the agenda, is not make them up. They are actually listed in the standing order as to how they are to be called. So on Tuesday, we had a session called the Statements by Minister. And every Tuesday, this line item is read out. The statement by the Minister shall not exceed 12 minutes in duration and shall be limited to matters which directly relate to the subject matter or department with responsibility for which he, that's the Minister, has been charged, or which are of urgent national importance. So on Tuesday, we had a statement by Minister with responsibility for the environment, Matthew Samuda. And thereafter, we had a response from the shadow spokesperson, Mr. Omar Newell, MP for Central St. Mary. And the reason we had the response from Omar Newell is because the standing orders actually provide that a response to a statement by Minister shall not exceed 5 minutes in duration and shall be made by the relevant opposition spokesperson or member nominated by the opposition to speak in that instance in the absence of the relevant opposition spokesperson. So the reason you hear opposition members speaking is because there's actually a rule that says the opposition counterpart is to be allowed to give a statement of duration 5 minutes. If it is going over the 5 minutes, there has to be a suspension of the standing order and an ask for additional time for the member to speak. Then after the member speaks for the 5 minutes, the rules provide any member may pose questions on a statement by Minister in accordance with Standing Order 17.2, which we will go to in a moment. But on top of that, there's another section that deals with the contents of question. So the right to ask a question shall be subject to the following general rule, as to the interpretation of which the speaker shall be the sole judge. This is a compulsive section. The speaker shall be the sole judge. So when the speaker judges and rules, and all of you in there rolling your eyes and doing the grumble like little Miss Grumbletown and little Miss Grumbletown, she didn't take up this responsibility on herself. The standing orders, they've actually given her that responsibility to be the sole judge. And this is how she's going to judge it. The proper object of a question is to obtain information on a question of fact within the official cognizance of the minister to whom it is addressed, or to ask for official action. So in the first place, before you get up to ask a question in the House, you need to remind yourself of what the portfolio responsibility of the minister is. And when you do that, you need to satisfy yourself as to whether the question you are about to ask can be properly considered to be in the official cognizance of the minister. And before you even ask a question, be sure that what you're asking is a question. And you're not about to make another statement which the opposition counterpart has already made. Because the problem is you're having these very long run-up in the House. And when the sole judge, based on the standing orders, rules, then people are grumbling. So you want to defrock the Speaker of the authority, and you want to do what you want. So I don't know how it is that the House is going to operate. So on Tuesday, when Minister Matthew Samuda spoke and Omar Newell gave his 5-minute statement, the Speaker recognized a number of members who said they had questions. And this was the first. What was supposed to be a question. Here's the member from Southeast St. Mary, Christopher Brown.
Question.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The honor of rising as the member from Southeast St. Mary.
Let me stop that right now. You will have an opportunity, every member in this House, to do your constituency debate and to grandstand.
Thank you.
At statement by Minister.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister.
Member from St. Mary. Member from St. Mary Southeast.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Member from St. Mary Southeast.
Yes.
For those persons who are not au fait with the standing orders and the operations of Parliament, I will advise you. Statement by Minister is followed by a 5-minute response. It is the only response that is made in the House to a statement by Minister. After which, only questions are taken, and your questions need to be exactly that.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Once again,
Madam,
please avail yourself of Standing Order 11A with also emphasis on Standing Order 17, subsection 2.
Thank you, Madam.
Proceed,
Madam
please.
Speaker, simply saying that I am pleased to stand in the capacity as member from Southeastern St. Mary. And I want to thank the Minister for his statement. Landslides are a feature of these systems that are before us and that we are discussing today. In fact, over the past
So that's the first mic cut, because there's no question. This is a preamble. In the first place, listen. I listened to the first sitting of the Parliament, and every single opposition member and government member got up and they had the chance to introduce themselves to the people of Jamaica. So they each stand up and said, I'm delighted to be here representing the wonderful people of Central Westmoreland or Western Westmoreland or wherever. And that created grand applause. We don't need that for every sitting. You were introduced as the member for Southeast St. Mary within the context of questions coming on statement by Minister. You're supposed to stand and ask a question. But that is not what was happening. The Speaker guided the members to 11A, which deals with contents of the statement, and the 5-minute presentation by the opposition counterpart, and then questions that must arise. And the contents of the question, the Speaker is the sole judge of the appropriateness of the contents of the question. And she warned the member before the member started. He continued. That was number one. Go ahead with number two.
Members, I am sure all of us, member, please take your seat. Members, if you would like to proceed, the order in respect of statement by ministers, and I'll reiterate it because I do not think any member is desirous of standing and making a statement when you have been advised by the Speaker that it is not to be done. You are required to stand and ask your question. And it is for the efficient order of this Honorable House. And it is for every single member of the House. So members, whether from the government side or the opposition side, may ask a question. And it is only a question that you're allowed to ask at this juncture. It is necessary. No, it's not going to be, member.
Why you should never wrap your credit card.
You hear all that talking to the Speaker in the House? When the rules say that the Speaker should be heard in silence? Let's hear the continuation of that.
From Northwest St. Anne. From Northwest St. Catherine. You say one member. And if I call your name based on the standing orders, so we could member, we could have finished long time, but it is obvious that it is going to be a consistent practice, so it ends today right here. Member, when you're called, ask your question and take your seat. Keep your mic on in the event that your question is not properly answered. Members, additionally, do not stand and ask a question that was already asked. Member from St. Mary, Southeast.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. So as I was saying in framing my question, Madam Speaker and Minister, land slippage has been a feature of these systems. In fact, over the past few days, we have had a lot of rains in Southeast, and we have had significant landslides blocking several roads. In terms of the engagement with the NAA as it relates to clearing of these roads, Minister, I'm advised that there is a reluctance on the part of the contractors
Member,
to...
Member, point of order.
Yes.
Point of order. The question being asked by a member must be related to the statement made by the minister.
But I'm going there. I'm doing that.
The minister is not in charge of landslide.
But
You can ask me a question. Okay? These new members need to know the rules. You can't go landslide and road on environment and climate change. It has nothing to do with what it says. The question must be related to the statement made by the minister. That in relation to the statement by the minister.
Yes.
We'll pause that. I'm going to continue this because I think it's important for you to hear exactly how this thing unfolded, because usually when you get the reportage, the summaries do not accurately represent the thing as it has happened, and people walk away with warped views on the situation, right? But stay with us as we give you the expanded version of the happenings in the House on Tuesday. This is the hotline. It is upon us immediately to our south. Somewhere there. This is like fire there, must steal them say. Yes, but we going back to some of this, the actual sequence and the matters as they unfolded, unedited in the Parliament, and edited only to take out the very, very long pauses because there is now a mic system in place during the last session of Parliament. And based on the mic system, the Speaker can appropriately and sequentially know who pressed the microphone and is to be heard. So it's not based solely on her discretion, but it is the order within which the mic is pressed. And then she can call upon them for the appropriate presentation within the context of a statement by minister. One presentation is allowed. One statement is allowed for 5 minutes by the opposition counterpart. Everything else after that is supposed to be questions from members on the floor. But before you get to even ask a question, the content of your question and whether your question is appropriate, the Speaker is made by the standing order the sole judge of the appropriateness of the question. So she can cut you off if in her judgment the question is not appropriate because it is not in the official cognizance of the minister to whom it is addressed. So this question by the member from Southeast St. Mary, which came on the pretext of a statement and which was talking about information coming to him about contractors not being paid, is not an appropriate question because it is not within the official cognizance of the minister for climate change. The Speaker indicated that. The member continued along that line in disregard of the Speaker's dictate. And dictate in this case is not a bad word. But let's go back to the excerpts.
May I proceed, Madam Speaker? The member who raised the...
No member. Your
Can I proceed?
leader of opposition business stood.
Okay.
Would you be so kind as to allow him?
Madam Speaker, I am very much aware of your intention, but I just am asking, Madam Speaker, especially as questions are framed, for there to be some leeway in allowing the member, especially where the issue is already raised in the statement, as it was. And it was just in reference to that statement that the question was being framed. I'm asking, Madam Speaker...
He didn't stand on a point of order. However, he was given the latitude as he was speaking on behalf of the members on his side of the House. So that's why I permitted the member to speak. Thanks, opposition, leader of opposition business. Members, I am happy to sit here very quietly until you are ready to continue with the sitting. Member from St. Mary Eastern, from St. Mary Southeastern.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member who rise on a point of order from St. Catherine Southwest is actually correct. I have heard the pleadings of the leader of opposition business in the House. However, the statement by the minister is as it relates to the weather system, even if reference is made to landslides. In respect of questions you're asking about landslides and clearing of blockage and its connection to NAA, or in fact, even, that's what he asked. I listened to his question. I'm not sure if some persons even listen. It would not be an appropriate question for the minister based on the statement he made.
But with
So
all this
phrase your question in keeping. And members,
Madam Speaker, the issue that we are discussing in terms of the system...
no, member, ask your question. And that's not an appropriate question.
Can they, and thank you for allowing me, Madam Speaker.
Ask your question.
Can the minister advise me and the House if, because as I said, there is a difficulty in terms of contractors indicating that they are not getting paid, to clear the road.
Member, please take your seat. Member, take your seat. The member from St. Mary's South East, please take your seat. House Leader.
Madam.
There is a standing order that says, if a question contains a statement of fact, the member asking it shall make himself responsible for the accuracy of the statement, and no question shall be based upon a newspaper report or upon an unofficial publication. And on top of that, the other standing order concerning the matter being within the official cognizance of the minister is something that the Speaker has to consider with the question that was asked. But it continued. Here is the third attempt.
The member from St. Catherine East, you may now turn your mic on.
So, Madam Speaker.
Oh. No, you don't have any more questions. Do you have any other questions, member? So, member, once again, I hope you took note, ask your question. And member, this is an observation that has been said to every single member of Parliament in the previous dispensation. And I would want to also say it for the benefit of every member here. None of us as members of Parliament are to be involved in any procurement and contract arrangements. So please refrain from those type of statements or questions. No, member, hold on. So, the arrangement of turning on your mic is what allows you to speak. If your mic is off, you should not speak in the House. That is the standing orders.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and that's why I was given the context, but I'll ask the question specific. Is the minister aware that the outstanding payments to contractors
Yes, so that was about the third mic up now.
No. Member from St. Mary's South East, take your seat. Member from St. Catherine. Member from no. The member from St. Catherine Southwest, what is your point of order?
The issue I've already ruled on that issue. Payments by NW has nothing to do with Minister of Environment, Climate Control and Water. And it makes no mention in the statement by Minister. Questions must be related to the statement made by the Minister. And you already ruled on that. Did he talk about payment? You nincompoop? Did you speak about payment?
The member from St. Catherine East. The member from St. Catherine East, please ask your question.
I want to say something.
Cotton.
Leader of the opposition. Leader of the opposition. Leader of the opposition, you may make your statement on the mic as the leader of the opposition bench so that I can have it properly recorded.
Hold on that.
Oh,
for me.
he's...
Hold on there. Because you see what has happened. There is complete defiance of the ruling of the speaker. So the individual who's been given the role as the sole arbiter for the contents of question, when she ruled against the member from Southeast St. Mary who decided not to repackage the question in an appropriate way based on the standing orders. She gave him 3 chances to rephrase, and when he didn't, she said, okay, I'm moving on to Eastern St. Catherine. And the leader of opposition directed the member not to ask any question until the Southeast St. Mary MP gets the chance to ask his question, even though he had 3 chances before. Yes, Mr. Samuda did speak on behalf of Desmond McKenzie, local government minister, whom he said was off the island on personal business. That's not the issue. The issue is whether the questions being posed to the minister who spoke, even if the questions appear to be relevant because of the desires of the members to have some guidance as to what will happen in their constituencies, the question that you're asking should be in the official cognizance of the minister to whom the question is being asked. And that is the problem. It is not so much the relevance of the question, but whether you are asking it to the appropriate person who is in the house. Is it in his official cognizance? And it was not. So there's defiance on top of defiance on top of defiance, and the rumbling about even the mic and the arrangement with the mic. People are saying arrangement. Do you all think you can just go in the house and talk anytime you want to talk? Say anything you want to say? You can't. Go and watch the House of Commons and see how it operates. You have 50 million people standing up at once, and only one can speak when the speaker tells them to speak. So we're either going to accept the rule, respect it even if it is wrong, or I don't know what is going to happen with these sittings of Parliament. Yeah? But this thing where whatever the speaker says, it's grounds for grumbling. Another speaker may have done it differently, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to substitute what I would have done for what the speaker would have done, and then to make what the speaker did wrong. It is about looking at what the speaker has done and to see if what she has done, if there are proper standing orders that can support what she has done, and there are standing orders supporting that. Why on earth couldn't the issue be repackaged in a way to suit the standing orders? I don't understand. But anyway, it continued. Let's go on to the next. Okay, let me take a break. Yes, and we go back to the Parliament after that 3rd warning. The intention was to move on to the member from St. Catherine Eastern, who was directed by the opposition leader not to ask any questions until Southeast St. Mary got the chance to. So let's go on and hear some more.
As Speaker of this Honourable House, I, listen very keenly to the statements made when questions are to be asked. The question being asked by the member is improper and so ruled. Please move on from that statement. It is your third time being told. Your third time being told. You may ask for clarification, member from St. Catherine Northwest.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, a statement was made today by Minister who is appointed to a particular portfolio. In that statement, paragraph 5, the Minister said, and I quote, "We are particularly mindful of the potential for landslides in our mountainous parishes, especially in areas of soil saturation is already high." Therefore, I am confused as to how it is that it is not appropriate within a question to this particular statement, regardless of the minister's portfolio. The minister was appointed by the government to make this particular statement. Therefore, without being properly briefed...
Member, thank you very much. You may take your seat. No, member, you may take your seat. Member, take your seat, please. Member, take your seat, member. Member, take your seat. Member.
Very good question on clarification. Right. Had a lot of long pauses during this session. And the speaker will move soon to explaining.
Member.
Boy, sometimes I wish I could hear some of those comments, I must tell you. Turn back on the mic. Yes, let's move on because this pause was particularly long. Yes.
Page 8 of Standing Orders. Number 14, nature of questions. Questions may be put to a minister relating to any subject or department with the responsibility for which he has been charged, or with regard to which he has been assigned the responsibility of answering the questions. Member. Members.
Lots of long pauses in the session. Lots of heated exchanges. You could see a lot of gesticulating, but just couldn't hear.
Any more questions? Members, are there any more questions?
Madam Speaker, I had written to you earlier, and I'm not too sure if you had...
Member, please do not speak about writing to me earlier unless it is that you are aware that your communication has reached me. I have nothing that you have written to me about. So, leader of opposition business, any statement you will be making in respect of writing me, I would like to be written to and see such first. Statement by ministers. My last asks, are there any other questions on this statement by Minister?
Hold on to that for me, because we're coming up to the headlines. I heard Mr. Paulwell on Beyond the Headlines on Tuesday afternoon, and I really wish he'd said when is it that he sent that letter to the Speaker. There's a practice that is developing that rubs me just awfully wrong. A letter is intended for the recipient to whom it is addressed. You see this business where we are write and publish to the world? Don't put my name on a letter if you're going to publish it to the world. Either in speaking or in putting it on social media. And I'm watching this matter concerning constitutional reform and letters written to Prime Minister being published. Prime Minister write letter to opposition being published. We need to stop it. And if you write a letter and you can't even wait for the recipient to respond, you're going to turn up and tell the recipient why you wrote what you have in the letter. What is the point of writing it? Let us get back to some basics of yesteryear that served us exceedingly well. It's headlines time though.